balor. How's it going, guys and me pals? I'm Alice from Wonderland, your favourite Kiwi trans girl, and I think it's fair to say that most of us here have some level of familiarity with the idea of coming out. Whether you're a trans veteran and you came out 10 years ago, or you're a trans egg and you're just thinking about the possibility for the first time. I think universally we can all agree that it's a pretty terrifying experience. It takes bravery, it takes courage, it's almost certainly going to change the direction of your life. If you're lucky like me, you've surrounded yourself with good people and hopefully you'll get through all of this without any lasting trauma. However, I know that that's not the case for most people, and for those of you out there, I'm sending you love and hugs. It is for this reason that I thought I'd spread a little bit of hope and a fair few laughs out into the world by sharing with you my story, and show you that coming out is not all doom and gloom. Not always. Today, I'm going to tell you how I came out, because in several places it was actually quite hilarious. This one isn't going to be my usual kind of hyper-edited, crazy, fun, stupid video due to the nature of the topic, but I hope you'll still enjoy it. Let's get started! So to set the scene, I live in rural New Zealand, or semi-rural New Zealand. I live about 90 minutes away from Auckland's city centre. This means that... Can you hear him? Meow. Come on then. What do you want? So I live in rural New Zealand. This means I generally live in fairly conservative areas. My family's never been radically right-wing, but they have voted for conservative parties in New Zealand for as long as I can remember, as did most of my friends and their families growing up. This was definitely something that I had to take into consideration when I decided it was time to come out. So fair to say, I was pretty nervous. I realized I was trans in about March of 2020. I then did the operative thing and went into absolute denial for 6 months throughout COVID, and only started questioning myself again once it was September. After many intrusive thoughts and weird mental conversations, I decided that there was only one way to sort this. I had to try it and see if I liked it, and see how people reacted. And it was just about at this time that Halloween was rolling around, and lo and behold, some of my friends were having a costume party. I'm sure you can see where this is going. That's right! The first time I ever dressed feminine was for a joke at a Halloween costume party. What better way to do it? Now that's a really long and really interesting and funny story in and of itself, and I think it deserves its own video. But suffice to say, I dressed up as a girl for my Halloween party, and I realized, yeah, this is for me. And it was time for me to go and start telling people. Of course, at the Halloween party, I played it all off as a joke, so that wasn't really any pressure. So really, the first person I came out to was my sister, because she helped me put makeup on when I went to the costume party. And my sister's super liberal. You know, she works in education, she's educated, she went to university and shit like that. And so she was okay with it. She doesn't really care about anyone but herself, so it was water off a duck's back. I think the next people I told were quite funny, because it was my main friend group, my high school friend group. There was a group of 4 of us in high school. We were all 4 boys, and now, at that time, it was no longer 4 boys. It was now 3 boys and 1 girl. So one of my lovely friends had transitioned a few years earlier, and I just remember going into our Discord and being like, yeah, so it turns out our friend group is 50% trans. And they were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm a girl, which was really funny. And it became a future trend, because 2 years later, the 3rd friend in the group became trans. So now our group of 4 high school boy friends is now a group of 3 trans girls and 1 guy. And he's a total bisexual mess. But he's not, I don't think he's ever going to become trans. My trans X-ray vision is telling me this with utter certainty. But yeah, you know, we already had a trans member in the group and we were all very left-wing, so again, no troubles there. That's about when I started coming out to a few of my wider friends. I remember this one that really makes me laugh. This good friend of mine from high school told him I was trans, you know, he was interested in what I looked like now, and I sent him a couple pics and he was like, damn, are you a virgin? Because if you are, you won't be in 6 months. I was like, I'll take it. And it was obviously in a joking tone, but it was very friendly and very affirmative, so That was very kind. It just makes me laugh though. It also reminds me of the time another of my friends, this isn't really pertaining to coming out, but it's just a funny story and I'm telling it now, so you're gonna listen, okay? Do as mommy tells you. I was having beers with one of my best friends at some point, and I just remember him turning to me and being like, yeah, so I was hanging out with X and X from high school the other day, and you came up, and I was like, oh god, what do these fucking gym jockeys have to say about me? And he was like, yeah, so-and-so was like, would smash. And I'm like, wow! Thanks for allowing me to be privy to the gym bro gossip. I was like, to be fair, I'd smash back. Dude's fit. Little bit of a cunt though. Anyway, we later matched on a dating site, which was interesting because he was in a committed relationship at the time. What a cunt. Anyway, the next people I came out to was, finally, my parents. Good old mom and pops. Conservative voters all their lives. And this was one I was really scared about. They'd never expressly said anything, you know, anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, nothing like that, but they definitely had conservative views. My dad was raised as a Catholic, even though he's not anymore. And they're quite old-fashioned, you know, married for 30 years. I was worried. I was definitely worried. So much so to the point that I started making preparations. I made sure that if I needed to, I had somewhere to sleep that wasn't home. I took my car keys off of my parents' key rings without them noticing. Got all of my important stuff in one place, you know, just in case I had to make a runner. It was scary. It was scary as fuck. And it took me like a week to actually break the news to them. You know, I remember I'd keep going down, having a drink with them and talking, and I couldn't do it. I just kept chickening out. But eventually, I managed it, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I don't even remember really what I was saying, but it was something, obviously the whole, I think I want to be a girl, I think I'm trans, kind of spiel. And my mum, bless her cotton socks, was immediately like, gave me a hug, we'll support you, which was a huge relief. My dad was in shock, he didn't say much. My mum was like, interestingly enough, she was like, you know what? Thank God. Because we knew something was off and we were worried you were going to commit suicide. So that's how I came out to my parents. I made sure, with everyone important in my life, I made sure I came out in person. I think that's so, so important. I do look at, you know, trans communities and see screenshots of people coming out over text, and I do honestly cringe a little bit. I genuinely think, if your family's not like alt-right, kill the gays, whatnot, if they're not like that, I think you should do them the honor of telling them in person, because it's a conversation that should be had face to face, and it's a lot of, I can't even clarify. I'm not judging you if you don't do this. I want to make that clear, but I just think it shows a lot of respect that you care about them enough to give them this huge news in person, because yeah, look, no one's died. It's not equivalent to that or anything, but it would be naive to look at these situations and think that they don't affect your parents, who have raised you for 18 years. They know you for longer than you have conscious memory. This is a huge change for them, and whether or not they are progressive, it's an adjustment period, and it is a shock. It is a shock. Especially if, you know, you had a tight father-son bond like I had with my dad. If someone I cared about passed away, I would want someone I trust and someone I know to deliver that news to me, rather than a random cop on the street, or someone's telling me over text. And I'm not in any way equating coming out as trans to someone dying. It's not. It's nothing like that. I'm just trying to make a comparison, I guess. I guess in summary, I'm really proud I came out to my family in person. It was a hell of an adjustment period and it was pretty scary. They dealt with it in their own little ways. My mum was pretty much fine off the bat. She had a lot of questions. She was very, very stressful on the "are you sure" mindset, but you know, we eventually got past that. My dad, honestly, such a sweetheart. He was really shocked at first. You know, we had a really great father-son bond, and it was really important to him. He liked having a firstborn son, and I was a little bit worried about that. He went off and, like the next day or something, he went off and he disappeared for a couple of days, which was a little bit upsetting for me, for sure, but while he was away, he sent me an email, and it was really sweet, and it made me feel really sad, because he was like, you know, he wasn't, he never showed any judgment. He was like, "I'm just really sorry that I made you go and play sports and get into cars and stuff like that." And it was like, no, I love those things, and I love doing those things with you. And I'm tearing up at the thought, but, you know, I made it clear to him that my past self wasn't dying. I didn't want to turn my back on it. The memories we shared will be shared between us forever, and nothing's ever going to change that. It's just a new beginning. And what's to say that, you know, the future of me and my transition is not going to be better than what I had before? Who's to say that this isn't going to be even more amazing somehow? Who's to say that we're not going to have more fun? You know, this is what we make it. And I told him all that, and we've been pretty sweet ever since. And my relationship with my parents is better than it's ever been. You know? So I'm very lucky to have supporting, accepting parents. And that's the story of how I came out to my parents. Now, I have one last story for you, and then I'm done for today. It's the story of how I came out to my best friend. Now, my best friend hasn't featured on this channel. I don't think he ever will. But he's very important to me. We've been through thick and thin, you know. And he's a dad now. He's one of the people I respect most in my life. I think he's the most human person I know, because to me the most human thing imaginable is to have a set of beliefs, believe in them solidly, but then if you encounter new information, be willing and open to look into that information and reassess your own beliefs. And he is that to a T. It's not really my place to tell you about all this, so I won't go super into detail. But he was raised super Christian, very anti-LGBT. His brother came out as gay. It was a struggle, but you know, he accepted it and he became a much, much better person because of it. And so by the time I realized I was trans, we were out for drinks. We used to just sort of drive around the coast and have a few beers in a few places. And so I pulled him up to a spot on the rocks. We were having a beer, looking out at the harbour, the horizon, and, you know, I told him, I think I'm transgender. And he had nothing to say except, I don't care, I love you. And so, I'm pretty pleased I'm around good people. I'm so sorry that not all of you can have experiences like this. I'm so sorry that some of you don't feel that kind of support that I was extremely lucky to feel. I don't have much else to say. I hope you enjoyed my stories. This is a very personal video for me. Thanks for watching.